Call to order the Greenwood Redevelopment Commission on this, the 8th day of April, 2025. May I have a roll call, please?
Mr. Campbell.
Here.
Mr. Harris.
You're muted. You had it figured out earlier.
Yeah, you there?
There we go.
Present by way of Zoom video.
Mr. Hopper.
Here.
Mr. Hoover.
Here.
Mr. Miller.
Here.
So let the record show the non-voting advisor position is still vacant.
All right, we do have a quorum. As Mr. Harris noted, he is on the interwebs today, not live in person. Is there a motion to approve our minutes from our March 11th meeting? Second. Motion by Mr. Miller, second by Mr. Hoover. Any corrections, additions, deletions? Please.
Mr. Miller.
Yes.
Mr. Hoover.
Aye.
Mr. Hopper.
Aye.
Mr. Harris.
Aye.
Mr. Campbell.
Aye. 5-0. Nothing under new business, nothing under old business. Capital project report for the Greenwood Fieldhouse. Amendment to PSA with Rundle Ernstberger Associates, Greenwood Fieldhouse Plaza Planning and Design Services. And this will be our second meeting for this particular year.
Yeah, so quick presentation on the, hopefully this works. No, that didn't work. Sorry. How do I advance without ruining your share? Tap the screen. Gotcha. Okay. Sorry. I used to be able to. Yeah, I have the screen. Yep, I gotcha. So this is about the area in front of the field house. In all the development documents, Lake pulls it back up. It was referred to as future amenity area. And so we kind of just working on getting some of the other stuff done there. And now came back for design. This body approved kind of some preliminary schematic work. I think last year. Just for reference, where we're at with a little blue dot down there in front of the field house. Google's updated the aerial so you can always see all the changes in Old Town. But this addresses the kind of grassy area between Serena Way north of the field house. There's a picture from Parks and Recreation's page of what it looks like now. Just a grass square. This was part of the schematic exercise we went through with Rundle Ernstberger, talking about where would future buildings potentially mass. As you guys probably know, and just to remind you, the part that's not in front of the field house, we're reserving for kind of future development of some type, whether that's, hospitality, commercial. We've had lots of different things. Look at it over the years, hard to tell exactly what will end up there, but a pretty nice corner for some sort of commercial use. Pictures we looked at, obviously the idea of bringing some sort of civic fountain, perhaps some sort of art or play space, as we have lots of kids, the idea of something in the winter, as we have nothing that really goes on in the winter. We also really don't have any fountains. And so just kind of some indicative images of what we went through during the design process. This was the comprehensive plan. This is what we're more sure about, which is the idea for winter, which is the idea that whatever we put up in the summer, it's kind of perfectly sized to put temporary ice there if we choose so, or have it just kind of winter plaza. As you can see, this just kind of papers in commercial, multi-story commercial building on parcel A, and shows you how the majority of this will be hardscape, kind of connecting A back to the field house and the rest of the Madison. You can see pre-existing Serena Way. So already authorized was $32,000 that started that process. We also used that money, as you'll see, to apply for Ready 2, which was under the last Governor Holcomb initiative there, the last budget. The current design request is $524,800. That gets us through a full set of plans and bids them. What we know, and I put a minimum that we feel comfortable with, and I'm going to caveat this in a second, is we've been awarded $1.5 million in Ready 2. That money at the state is not being sent out until they spent 80% of Ready 1. So we have some time to wait on that, assuming it stays in Ready 2. Our match would be 1.5, and way back in the day, was it 2020? The developer agreed to pay park impacts for the Madison, even though it was a deal with the idea, and the park board agreed that those would go back into an amenity in front of the field house of roughly $300,000. So we have a bucket of money that we feel relatively comfortable with going in the forward out years. And so what we're asking for approval for is the design. I know there's a lot of uncertainty. I heard people talking about state house legislation. I think Greg was there, the mayor was there. There's stuff going on at the federal level. But if you remember, we designed the streetscapes for Old Town in 2018, went to go bid it, and the world shut down with COVID, and then didn't end up building it until 2022. So we'll see what happens, but we know the design is something to be spread out across every TIF because all of them authorize high quality recreation and kind of cultural amenities. And then we'll kind of just keep our eye, like the rest of us, on what happens, obviously at the state level and whatever else goes on in the world, and see where we're at and how we want to scope this and what amenities we want to include, and perhaps one good thing is it can always be set up to have add-ons later on. So it's very scalable. Any questions?
The amended PSA shows an amount of $653,800.
So yes, so the reason I did that is that it had a large amount of money in there for what they call construction administration, which would be where you're paying the architect and the engineer to come back and review things and do inspections and project works while you're in construction. Because we don't know fully yet what the world will look like when exactly we'll bid this, both to be fair to us and them. We're basically funding the task orders that get us to a permit, to a bid set, and not funding stuff that would be afterwards. When we get to that point, we can look at construction inspection and or construction administration.
So the ask is for $653?
No, the ask is for $528,800,000.
Okay.
Engineering and architecture firms always like to put the whole number in there, including like inspection and other things. And what we've taken the practice of is let's commit ourselves to getting a CD package, a bid package, and then we see where we're at before we lock ourselves in with an assumption of something that's not awarded.
The amendment we have in front of us, okay, doesn't have the lower numbers.
Yes, I know, it has construction, if you'll see the line items, it has construction administration, and it has, I think, a travel after it is. What I'm asking is you to approve the funds for $524,800 to get us to essentially through bidding. It doesn't include that much.
I think you have to look at the attached
Yeah,
exhibit A.
Yeah, there's a,
So
I asked them.
paragraph B was be out of it at this point.
Yeah, so they had a number a long time ago, whenever the field house laws. I said, get us to a rough place, kind of conceptual, to allow us to apply for Ready 2. That was the initial 32,000. This would be approving the task orders to get us up over the next year to develop a set of plans that we could get bids on. And then at that point in time, we'll move forward with inspection/construction authorization. And sometimes we even use different firms than who designed it to do inspection. Yeah, just have different kinds.
We can modify that first page if you want to the legal department to change that to reference the,
I think what we could do is where it references B on the amendment itself, you can, right after the dollar figure, say, comma, in accordance with exhibit A.
okay.
Kevin, this is directly north of the Hubler sign and not on the corner, actual corner.
Yeah, you can see where the sidewalk kind of boxed it in,
Yeah,
and
okay.
there's that little blue dot, I made this look raining, so it goes there. But one thing that it does include, you can see in the conceptual, is there's an area, it's up here kind of where just a conceptual, either art or children's play kind of area is, and seating. There's a corner up there where Duke has a power pole, and you can kind of see it where this orange box is. You see where the pink is? That's like the Duke easement up at the top there where A is. So it would build or potentially design some hardscape that would connect into that building pad for some sort of commercial use. That shows two different buildings. There, one fronting Madison, one fronting the new square.
Hey, Kevin, can you explain the right there, that picture there? Can you explain how the ice rink is going to work? Is that temporary? How does that?
Yeah, so what we would plan on doing, at least initially, which we're more sure on the winter, is we would set it up and run the plumbing to be able to do it on top of the hardscape, which you could do. In a city in Hamilton County, they actually just have it paved and then they put down grass every summer. We wouldn't do that and take the grass off. That's why we're not showing the summer, and that's the part that could be very budget different. You could have all sorts of different uses in the summer. You could make it for music. We already have some of that. You could do something with whatever the business is that's there, that's patio. That everyone's done it in different ways. But we would run all the piping essentially, and then you would pick it and have that on in the winter. What it looked like, I'll go back here. That's why I kind of listed a menu in the summer. Is it a fountain? Is it fountain with colors? Is it just kind of more unprogrammed space? I think that one might be at Sun King, and I like that city up north. It's like Michigan in the Ohio State. The city up north, and but the rest of these are all over the country. This is more just a basic kind of spray fountain. That obviously is just painted on shuffleboard. So you can do as much as little, and honestly, what's going to dictate that is what the world looks like over the next year.
Okay, thanks.
But we won't turf it and rip it out and turf it here. I can tell you that.
Any other questions for Kevin? All right, is there a motion?
Or with the modification that Mr. Rocky suggested, I move for approval.
Mr. Hoover, is there a second? Second. Any questions? Roll call, please.
Mr. Hoover,
Aye.
Mr. Hopper,
Aye.
Mr. Harris,
Aye.
Mr. Campbell,
Aye.
Mr. Miller.
Hey, just so we couldn't see Mr. Harris, so if we could get that off the screen. and
Yeah,
Show Mr.
stop
Harris
share.
the guy.
Do
Just
that.
there you go. Say it again, Brian, if you would.
Aye.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
I don't know who faces that, just in case the TV police ever come and say something to us. All right. Yep. Up next, financial reports.
Good afternoon, it's good to see everybody. I'm happy to take any questions with regards to the normal monthly, but primarily here to present the annual report. I understand, I believe you all got in your packets, either electronic or printout copy. Okay. that is the sort of form template we use. Ultimately, this gets submitted through the state's gateway portal, referred to as the TIP management portal. So I'll touch on, for the record, a few of the kind of major summaries, kind of where we stand, and open it up for any questions that you may have. This, from a redevelopment commission reporting requirement, this really kicks off a series of disclosures and requirements that we have. The first being the April 1st fiscal officer report that was submitted. We deemed the annual financial report to satisfy that. State law requires that report be submitted by April 1st, but actually does not provide really any description of what that is. The annual financial report is a publicly available document. It's fully, it's what's ultimately part of the audit of the city as well. So that's the link that we provided to you. What you have today is very much more specific to the Redevelopment Commission, and is really looking at the Redevelopment Commission's funds, activities, revenues, expenses, and debt. And it is due to Gateway via the state's electronic submission portal no later than April 15th. Prior to that date, it has to be reviewed by the Commission, as well as more recently be presented to the unit's fiscal body, in this case, Greenwich Common Council. Thank you to the controller last night. That was presented to the Common Council, and upon today's actions, if you are good with the final version of the report, we'll proceed to get the information submitted into Gateway for final submission. The switching over to the report, just to touch on a few of the aspects, I'm just going to kind of go down the list here. There are 13 active allocation areas or TIP districts in Greenwood, and that is most notably we have inactivated the previous I-65 East allocation area, specifically T41002, and replaced that with the more recent County Line Road and I-65 allocation areas, T41-49. A couple reasons for that. Primarily was the original I-60, well, they're the same parcels. The original allocation area contemplated a previous project that never broke ground. It was established many, many years ago. State statute changed on the expiration dates, so just depending the situation, that land was still agricultural, that change was made. So nonetheless, 13 active. Just list out, the state requires, once they get an understanding of the breakdown of the commission members and their tenure. And then as far as the revenues and expenditures, we report that by fund as well as by area. Keep in mind, some of the funds have debt outstanding. The areas that have debt outstanding have multiple funds related to that allocation area. Mainly, they'll have an allocation fund, like all, but they'll also have bond and interest accounts. They may have debt reserve accounts. They'll have bond construction proceeds accounts, as well as then a new fund type titled surplus. So in funds where there are not related debt, the allocation area by proxy is the surplus, wherein when there's a bond, a TIP area that has related debt, it has those by bond resolution, other related funds, it has a specified surplus fund. The allocation fund is where the TIP revenues are received from the county, and then ultimately that is the fund that either transfers or pays to the bond interest fund. So summarizing all of that, the commission-wide, all funds, including any interfund transfers in and out, there was $28,017,331 of total receipts versus $29,896,370 in expenditures across all funds. Looking at the expenses by category, really the number one expense from an expenditure standpoint is actually just interfund transfers out. That's money that's coming in to the original allocation area. More specifically, that's property tax revenue coming into the East Side, Fry Road, Central, and Morseville Road allocation areas, and then a portion of those are being transferred to the surplus or the specific bond and interest funds. Second to that, largest category would be principal repaid on debt outstanding of $7,762,000, interest of $1,517,000, et cetera. You can see capital improvements that the Redevelopment Commission made. These are pay-as-you-go projects or paid from bond proceeds of $3.9 million, $3.4 million, 47,000, 120,000. So very active year for the redevelopment commission from a project perspective. There was one intent to reimburse still outstanding as at the end of 2024. My understanding is that has been closed and settled from as of I believe this month. So that's the Worsville Road allocation area reimbursement to the city's cumulative capital development fund from a 2019 resolution. So that in the 2025 report, that will be fully repaid. As far as fund balances go, they're broken down by fund and by area. Down below the end of 2024, the cumulative cash and investment on hand was $22,902,467, of which $9,962,955 was earmarked as surplus or essentially unrestricted to either a specific bond project or earmarked for bond repayment. As far as debt activity, you can see the related allocation areas. So of the 13 different allocation areas, 4 have related debt. That would be the Fry Road, US 31, East Side, Central Expansion, and Worsville Road. The total principal outstanding as of the end of 2024 was $63,652,000. And the maturities on the bonds, majority of them are actually at 2028 maturity, with some of them dating out to mid-2030s. The longest dated is the most recent, which is a 2047 maturity. Last but not least, the parcels. There are thousands of parcels that roll up to these 13 different districts. They have a base value that's continuing to produce taxes and levies for the units, including the city, of $456 million. The Redevelopment Commission, through the act of this body, has managed projects and created value, incremental values in those areas of $767 million, or over $750 million. And there's specifically 1,574 parcels in various different allocation areas. As far as the next steps, if this report is acceptable to you all, it has been reviewed by the Finance Department. It's been shared with the council. We'll make the final submission through the Gateway portal and prepare that for city submission no later than the April 15th deadline. And then as far as subsequent future agenda items, targeting your next meeting, we'll be looking at the annual determination of excess assessed value. Just wanted to give you that heads up, and that will be the next kind of timely filing we need to work on. So with that, I'll pause and see if there are any questions for me.
Not seeing any or hearing anything. Mr. Watson, do you need anything special from us other than just an acceptance of this report, or what do you need?
I would recommend a motion to approve the report.
Is there a motion to approve?
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Mr. Campbell, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Hoover. Any questions from anybody? Roll call, please.
Mr. Campbell,
Aye.
Mr. Harris,
Aye.
Mr. Hopper,
Aye.
Mr. Hoover, Mr. Miller.
Motion's approved 5-0. I don't want to put either of you guys on the spot. We talked a little bit about Senate Bill 1 last night at the council meeting. Touched a little bit on the RDC, but do you want to fill those in who weren't there on how it affects us and what we do?
Yeah, I'll defer to Rick, because I know he was at the State House today. He's going to the Mary. I'm happy to speak to kind of what we're seeing and what we think the RDC potential impacts will be. Some of it's obviously still speculation. And then real quick on the interim report, I just wanted to give appreciation not only to Mr. Greg Wright from his review, but also Commissioner Harris also supported us to get to today's agenda. Thank you.
Thanks, Kevin.
So with Senate Bill 1, as we discussed at last night's meeting, the intent is to push all of the tax rates to $3. and have everybody hit the tax caps at that rate. The other piece is they are, with that, eliminating the business personal property tax. Fortunately for us, we passed that through rather than capture increment on it, but there are a lot of communities that don't. And so our TIF districts won't get hit by that, but we will probably see some impacts from those tax rates changing. And then there's some specific legislation within that about giving DLGF the ability to adjust the tax rate as necessary in a TIF district to collect for outstanding debt as of when this goes into effect. But since Representative Thompson said he doesn't want there to be any new money available for GO bonds, I don't know how they're gonna raise the rate to actually collect anything more, because all of those businesses will be at the circuit breaker caps at $3.
Greg, I missed the last day or so. Is it signed and is it on its way to the governor's desk, or is it? still-
No, it was voted out of committee on Monday. My understanding was it was intended to go to the House floor today for first reading there. Once it passes out of the House, which we assume it will because leadership is supporting it, it will go to a conference committee because they took out everything the Senate put in and put in their own versions. So then they'll have to get out on what stays in the final version of the bill, and then that'll go to the governor. We've got till April 24th for them to figure it out, or hopefully not figure it out.
All right, any other questions for Jared? Thank you, sir. Anything for Mr. Hodson today? No. All right, Mr. Watson?
Not today.
All right, anything else, Mr. Wright?
Nothing else.
Engineer is not here. The mayor walked through, and so he was here and gone. So probably nothing for Pam, I'll give you guys. All right, is there a motion to approve our claims docket amount of $1,825,535.74?
I'll motion.
All right, motion by Mr. Hoover, second by Mr. Harris. Due to the pause in the interwebs. Any questions, comments? All right, roll call, please.
Mr. Harris,
Aye.
Mr. Miller.
Aye.
Mr. Hoover,
Aye.
Mr. Hopper.
Aye.
Mr. Campbell.
Aye.
Docket is approved 5-0. Anything else from anybody, either? Brian, you're the only one on the internet today, so anything from you out there? You're muted. We can't hear you.
Wish y'all could join me. It's 92 right now.
Yeah.
Happy birthday to your daughters.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I'll tell them.
It's only 50 degrees cooler here than it is there. Thank you, sir. Enjoy.
No kidding. Yeah. Thanks, guys.
Anybody else in the room? No? All right, we are adjourned.